Okay, hello everyone. Before moving to a few illustrations regarding the contra vouchers or the payment vouchers or the other types of vouchers which we want to discuss. So there are other creating a ledgers. Okay, so we will be discussing about how to create a ledger and certain how the classification is made in the case of ledger entry. So before you go with the transactions, the voucher entry type, so you need to go ahead with preparing the ledger entries. Okay, so we shall see how to create a ledger. There are kindly here in the Tally ERP9 software. There are basically, we will be discussing under the Tally ERP9 two ledger account that the person can be prepared. One is the single ledger. So single ledger, if the it is based upon the company which the ledger that they are able to choose. If they choose the single ledger, it is better because there will not be any clashes of information. Even the multiple ledger is also safe. All the informations will be gathered in a one place and you can do the transactions. Okay. So how to go for creating a ledger? First, very important is getting through a gateway of Tally, then click into a accounts informations, then create a ledger. Okay. Automatically, if you click onto the accounts informations and creating a ledger, so it appears with a screen display. Okay, so what is this? So single ledger you can create and display as well as alter. If any modifications can be done, it can be done here. Okay, so now we will discuss about certain debtors and the creditors classifications. Before moving to it, I told you before creating a ledger you have to group the items. So grouping of activities, which we have discussed in the previous sessions, there are 28 groups. Out of that groups, 15 groups are basically from the balance sheets. Okay. So 13 subgroups are derived both from the balance sheets and the profit and loss account. And out of the 15 groups, that is the primary groups, the main important groups. Out of that, 9 groups are from the balance sheet, which is derived from the capital. So items which are appeared in the balance sheets, so that groups will be grouped under the balance sheet item. And other apart from the 6 items, so which are derived from the revenue items. So which are the revenue? Where do you post the revenue? It will be appeared in the profit and loss account. So which are in the revenue in nature, that will be appeared in the 6 groups. It may be a expenses relating information or it may be any receipt information, so which will be recorded there. So we shall see, before moving to a ledger creation, we have learned about the single ledger and the multiple ledger. Before moving to that single group that we have discussed, so debtors and the creditors classification. So first is placing individual party accounts under sales or the purchase accounts group. Okay. So accounts of parties with whom your company has trade relationship must be opened under one following groups, which means where, if think that you are opening a company where you are co-partner, so you have a co-partner, or where you are trading relationship, where you are maintaining the trading relationship, so you can open a party accounts under the sales or the purchase accounts group. Okay. So what are the purchase accounts group? It may be a sundry debtors, or it may be a sundry creditors, or it may be a branch or the divisions. Okay. And especially the sales and purchase accounts groups are really meant for the revenue accounts. Okay. And where the revenue accounts would be reflected, it be reflected in the profit and loss account. Okay. And for example, in a sales voucher transactions, you must debit an amount account which is sundry debtors. Okay. So before moving to, or before going for a voucher entry transaction, so obviously you need to create certain ledger accounts. So with the help of the ledger account itself, you can easily go for the voucher entry transactions. Even that will be discussed. Okay. So next is opening two accounts of the same party. For the convenience of the Tally ERP9, classify debtors and the creditors and the branch divisions. There is a classifications of debitors and the creditors information. So that is the two accounts of the same party can be opened. Okay. So the credit informations can also be given and the debit information can also be given here. And the next is placing expenditure items under liabilities group. Example, expenditure items, rates, taxes under group duties under taxes, which means in which group all the expenditure should be appeared. See here, there is a rates and the taxes information, okay? So rates and the taxes appears in a statutory compliance. So which group it falls under? It falls under the groups duties and the taxes, okay? And we shall see which are the predefined ledgers in Tally ERP9, especially the predefined ledger, which the Tally ERP9 by default selects is the cash. Okay, especially there are two predefined ledgers which is available in the Tally ERP9. So first is the cash. So why and what reason this cash is prepared? So obviously the cash is falling under the group cash in hand. Okay. So you can enter the opening balance as the date of books beginning from. You can also alter the name and even delete the ledger. So this option is also available in the Tally ERP9, which means the cash is one of the type of transactions. So which is the group for the cash? The group for the cash which falls is the cash in hand. Very important. Okay. And one more predefined ledger in Tally ERP9 is profit and loss account. Very important. So what is the purpose of preparing this profit and loss account? This ledger is created under a group primary. Okay. So I told you in the previous session, profit and loss account is purely meant for the revenue items. All the 6 other items will appear here. So which are the other items or other values that is going to appear? Previous year's profit or loss is entered or is as the opening balance for this ledger. Obviously, the other year closing value becomes the opening value of the present year. Okay, the balance entered here is treated as an opening and it is shown as a balance, opening balance of profit and loss in the liabilities side. And you can also have the option in the Tally ERP9, you can either delete the ledger and you can also modify the same if you want to retain. So that option is also available here. So now how to create a ledger? Obviously, it is moving to a gateway of Tally and there is also accounts information, ledgers and the create. Okay. So the next sessions which we will be discussing further is only creating a ledger and moving on with the problems relating to all the voucher entries. Okay. So be very particular. You are just creating a single ledger here. And you are also having in the Tally ERP9, you are also having creating ledger in normal mode. You can also create a ledger in the normal mode. So how to move on with that? How to move on with the single ledger transactions? So go to gateway of Tally and accounts information, ledger, single ledger and create. So we shall see now. So go for Tally software. Okay. So you have already created a company. First and foremost is you need to create any type of company. The current period which is beginning from 1/4/2019. So change the date. So which is 1/4/2020. So this can be done. If it is not changing, it should be done only with the help of the company creation itself. Okay. Okay, no issues. So go ahead with this. So I told you there is a creation of the company. So single ledger create. So capital account, it may be any capital account. A's capital account. So just give the name as A's capital account. Obviously, the capital account falls under the capital account. See, the list of groups is also appeared here in the left side of your screen. There is also list of groups. Automatically, when you give any type of transaction in the ledger creation, the list of groups also appears in the right side of the screen. Okay. So the capital account falls under the group capital account only. So just give the information. Okay. Inventory values are affected. Very important. For what reason these is applicable? So suppose if we are doing the transaction, the stock transaction, so inventory values can be given here. If you are not moving on with the stock or number of stocks, then you can by default the tally RP9 selects the no option. Okay. So the Karnataka state, click the information. Okay. You have not yet given the value here. So just give any value, that is 5 lakhs. Okay. So capital appears in the credit side. See, here automatically the credit has a right. Okay. So enter. Yes. Automatically the ledger which has been created in the name of the capital is created. Clear? So now this we have created. So this is how the capital, the group which is going to fall below, and also the capital account falls below. Okay. So, and one more here in the capital account, you give the full name of the account. Okay. And also moving on to it, note, very important is punctuation and other non-relevant informations are ignored. So you are not allowed to give any punctuations marks. Okay, any full stop or any exclamatory mark should be avoided in moving on with the tally. And the first, whatever you give in the first beginning should be the capital letter, or it may be in the uppercase itself, which is going to help you to speed up the data entry. So that was very important to be noted down here. And what is the reason for alias information? Alias information, see, you can see here there is a name information, that is Ace capital account. Below that there is also alias information. So this information is, if required, it can be given, or no, if at all it is not required, you can also ignore that information. There is no compulsion that you need to give a alias of information. Alias of information is certain subtitle for a company which you have to give certain information. Clear? And you can also access the ledger using the original name. Suppose if at all you are missing with a transaction, and you don't get the name, exact name that you have given for a ledger creation, you can also go for a alias information and cite such that type of information also. So for that reason, this alias of information is required. Okay. And the shortcut key which can be used here for further processing is Alt C. Okay. And the opening balance is necessary for giving an information, which is going to appear in the left side of right side of your screen. Okay. Further moving on with the creating a purchase and the sales ledger. Okay. Suppose if you want to do a transactions with any payment or receipt, so purchase and sales ledger poses a very important tool. For example, purchase of land and building or sale of land and building. So where there will be a payment as well as there will be a receipt entry transactions that you need to enter. So at that time, the purchase and the sales ledger is going to possess a very important role. Okay. How to go on to the screen here? Gateway of tally, for everywhere, whenever you give a information through the tally ERP9 software, compulsion that you will be moving on with the gateway of tally, then accounts information, create a ledger, then create. So here you have given certain ledger creation as purchase accounts. Now see here. So open the tally ERP9. Okay. This has already been created. So just remove it. You are creating a ledger. Okay. So what type of ledger you are creating? You are creating the ledger in the name of purchase and the sales ledger. So name appears as purchase accounts. Okay. Okay, purchase account falls under the groups. The name itself, there is a list of groups which is displayed here. Purchase accounts falls under the purchase accounts group only. So make it as purchase accounts. Clear? Automatically the purchase accounts is going to be affected and inventory values are affected. So inventory values are affected is important only whenever the company is maintaining accounts with inventory. That means if the company is maintaining certain inventory transactions, then this inventory values are affected is very much important. Okay, I'm repeating. Suppose if any company is maintaining accounts with the inventory transactions, it is very much important. Okay, and types of ledger not applicable. Provide bank details if at all you need to give. You can also give certain information. Fine. So you need to give certain amount here. Type the values as around a purchase maybe 2 lakhs. Okay. Any purchases items appears as the debit. So whenever purchases, purchase of goods rupees, Mr. A purchased goods worth rupees so and so for by to the cash, which means purchases account data to cash, you will be giving the transactions. So here it will be a debit. Okay. So click on to a S. Automatically the purchase accounts will be generated. Clear? Okay, so this is the purchase accounts or any type of sales or the purchase account, you will be moving on to it. One more is creating the expense or the income ledger. Suppose if you give any income as well as the expense ledger, so this is how the transaction moves on. You are moving to a gateway of tally and you are also going for a accounts information ledger and create certain information. So what is the ledger creation that you are making here? Transportation charges. It may be any. You can also give any expenditure or railway charges, or it may be any expenditure which pertaining to it. You can also give that information. Okay. So name, transportation charges will be typing here. So all the expenses pertaining to it, it falls either in the direct expenses, either in the indirect expenses. Okay. So give it as transportation charges will appear in the profit and loss account. Okay, so which falls below the group indirect expenses. You give the information like this in the same screen which was displayed in the previous slides. In the same way the screen is going to appear. Okay, so give the values, then click on S information. Okay, and this is certain creating a duty and taxes ledger. Okay, this is going to appear in the statutory compliance whenever a tax ledger to be created, payment of tax information to be created, you'll be giving such information. So you have given here the local taxes. So local taxes, that all the taxes falls under the group duties and the taxes. So just give the information as duties and the taxes. So give the values. It is going to be accepted as S. Okay. Now it is about creating the current liabilities and the assets. Okay. So this is about creating current liabilities and the assets ledger. So current liability may be a creditors or the bills payables. So that all appears, it may be an outstanding expenses, all that appears as a current liability, the balance sheet item. So now there is one more entry, that is furnitures and the fixtures. So furniture and fixtures falls below the group fixed assets. So if if the company is moving on with the inventory transactions, then inventory values will be affected. Otherwise, it will not be affected. So you can either give yes or no for transacting it. Okay. So this is a ledger with advanced usage. If at all the Tally ERP9 creating a ledger by usage of the advanced configuration. So enable all the options under accounts masters in F12 configuration. So all that the transactions that we are doing here is from the F12 configuration only. Okay. So the ledger configuration, certain alias along with the names. So if you want to give name, just the name, you don't want to give any alias information, you can give here as no. Okay. By default, the Tally ERP9 takes into consideration as S information here. If at all you don't want, you can just click on no for all the informations. Clear? So suppose if you give no here, that information will not appear in the on the screen of the Tally ERP9. Fine. And suppose if the company is moving on with a multiple ledger. Okay. So again with the same way. So go for gateway of Tally, click on the accounts information ledger, then create a multiple ledger, then create certain information. That is multiple ledger will be created. You can, if you are trading with the other business, trade B and trade C, you can also give that information here. Okay. This is about displaying or altering a ledger account. If you want to display all the ledger account that you have prepared, now we have learned about the purchase, furnitures, as well as sales ledger. So in order to display it, so go for the accounts info, ledger, and display or the alter. You can also delete if you don't want any type of information there. Okay. So what is a shortcut key used? It is Alt plus D. Very important. All the keys of the Tally ERP9 which is used. Okay. It is as for almost the 2 marks as well as 6 marks and for the 15 marks. Okay. This is about certain buttons or the keys and the description of the usage. So for what reason these groups are used? G is for the groups. Okay. And what is the shortcut key is Control G. And in the Control G, you can create certain stock group. Okay. And E is the currency, that is Control C. Certain, you can also create here currency from the stock items and creation menu. You can go for it here. And CST and CAT, that is Control S, you can create a cost category here. Okay. Control C is to create cost center from the stock item creation screen, and Control B is for preparing a budget, and Control V is for voucher entry. Voucher type from the stock item creations, you can go to it. Okay. Very important is vouchers in Tally. Okay. So here in the vouchers in the Tally transactions, we will be discussing about the contra vouchers. So before moving on to the entries or the voucher entry transaction, we shall see, we will be learning here voucher entry transaction. So what exactly the voucher? So voucher is some document that contains the details of financial transactions. Okay. So what is voucher? Voucher is a document which is going to contain a financial transaction and which is required for recording the same into books of accounts. All the financial transactions will be recorded as a document, and that is posting it to a voucher transaction. So Tally ERP9 is a pre-programmed with a variety of accounting vouchers, so which we have already discussed, that is predefined groups which we have discussed. The standard accounting vouchers that we will be discussing further is contra voucher. So contra voucher takes the F4 configuration. And payment voucher. So payment voucher takes the F5 configuration. Receipt voucher for F6, journal voucher F7, and also we will be seeing about the sales voucher and the invoice. Invoice takes about the F8 features. Okay. And credit note voucher F8, control plus F8, purchase voucher F9, debit note voucher control F9, reversing journal is F10, memo voucher is control plus F10. Okay. So for what reason the contra entry voucher is? indicated. So suppose if, for example, you are transacting any kind of transaction from bank to bank, transferring of so and so amount from SBI to ICICI Bank. So there is a transfer of cash information. Whenever there is a bank to bank transaction, or whenever there is a cash to bank transaction or bank to cash transaction, contra voucher comes into a picture. Clear? So the contra entry is a transaction which is indicating transfer of funds from cash accounts to bank accounts to cash account, and one bank to another bank account. Clear? So debit either will be a cash or a bank account, credit either it will be a cash or the bank account. The main transactions recorded in this voucher are, so especially for your examination of point of view, so deposit cash into bank or withdraw of cash from bank, transfer of cash from one bank to another. Whenever you see this transaction, you should be able to know how to create the ledger first. Deposited cash into bank, first one. Okay. So who is the receiver here? Bank is a receiver. The cash is moving out. So bank account attached to cash account. Here in the Tally ERP9, the ledger will be processing with the debit and the credit transactions. Okay. But for the voucher entry transaction, first appears the credit information, then appears the debit transactions. Withdraw of cash from bank. What will be the entry? You are withdrawing cash from the bank. Bank becomes the giver. So cash accounts data to bank account. Okay. Transfer of cash from one bank to another account. It is cash has been transferred from one bank to another. So bank account data to bank account or bank accounts data to cash account will be the concept. So this is how the ledger will be created. The procedure for moving out with a transaction. So go to gateway of Tally. Then you will give the transactions, then go for the accounting voucher, then click on the contra vouchers, that is F4 for features. So how to move on with it? Step 1 deals with the F2, that is date. You need to give certain date for it. F12 configuration. Step 2 is passing on the entry. Step 3 is giving a narration. Step 4 is saving it or output, that is accepting it, or yes or no will be the concepts. Clear? Now we shall see, very important, the first illustration. Deposit of cash of 25,000 to State Bank of India. Okay. So first of all, know here who is depositing and who is the receiver. Okay. Who is the receiver here? State Bank of India. Bank is a receiver, and what is moving out? The cash is going out from the business. So what will be the transaction? A general transaction when you prepare a books of accounts will be bank accounts data to cash account. But here the transaction moves on like this. Okay. The transaction moves on like this. Ledger to be prepared is in the books of the State Bank of India. So State Bank of India is a falls under the bank accounts. Okay. So how the transaction will be? Cash account data to State Bank of India. So here it is not the credit and the debit item. I told you in the voucher, first you are going to give the information as credit and then give it as the debit. So we will be moving on with the one or two or three questions with the same. Then we'll be going on with the full-fledged 14 marks problem. Okay. So in the same way, you need to indicate in the examination of point of view. Okay. Solution, ledger to be prepared, State Bank of India, and State Bank of India, as it is a banking transaction, it falls under the group bank accounts. Then you need to give information as credit and the debit, but be very particular. Okay. So this is how you will be giving the information. So you are going on with the contra number 1. So we shall also see by creating a one transaction here. So go for tally. Yes, okay. So you have already created a entry, right? So go for accounting vouchers. So we need F4 features. So just give the F4, then it appears as the contra. So what is the basic account that you are preparing here? Bank account. Okay, still you have not created the ledger. Suppose see, if you have not created a ledger, it appears as a spelling error. Okay, first create a ledger. Ledger create. So give as name as State Bank accounts. Okay, so that falls under the bank account. So you don't want to give certain information. So just to give, go on giving the information. So Karnataka value may be 90,000. Okay. One more account is cash accounts. So cash account falls under cash in hand. Just give the information. So just give it as 25,000. So this information you can itself give. Okay, it may be a debit or credit. You can also give here credit. Yes, okay. So you have created the cash and the banking transaction. Now just go for the voucher entry, accounting voucher. So you was moving on with the contract. So what was the transaction? Illustration 1 that we were discussing. It was relating to deposit of cash of rupees 25,000 to State Bank of India. So credit will be the cash. So cash account. So credit will be the cash. So first be very particular because ledger is very most important. Until unless you are not able to prepare with the ledger, it is very impossible to merge with the voucher entry transaction. So we have already created. And one more, here in the transaction, who is the receiver? State Bank of India. So State Bank accounts. So 90,000. So here deposit of cash 25,000 to State Bank of India. So what is the cash deposited? 25,000. You will get certain check range and the institution's name. That information is not required. So see, the value which was given was, so you 25,000 has already been given. So what you have did, it has been deposited. The value is deposited. So what will be the narration? Being cash deposited to bank. Okay, be very particular. So in the books of accounts where you prepare, it is a State Bank accounts data to cash accounts. Okay, but here it is cash accounts, State Bank of accounts. Cash accounts is a credit and State Bank of accounts is a debit. Click on yes. Okay, this transaction is done. Further, when you process with any kind of transaction, you need to prepare a ledger. Until unless you don't prepare a ledger, it is impossible to go ahead with this. Clear? The cash, credit and debit will be the SBI. Accept yes or no. Display will be the same. Okay, when you type on with all the information, the display will appear with the same transactions. Clear? So withdraw of cash of rupees 1,500 from HDFC Bank. So we have not yet created the ledger yet. So withdraw of cash. So what will be the normal transaction here? Cash accounts debtor to HDFC Bank. So HDFC Bank becomes the giver. So credit the giver, debit the receiver. So cash accounts debtor to HDFC Bank. But here in the Tally ERP9, so HDFC account credit, debit will be the cash. How the transaction moves on. See, HDFC Bank will be the credit, debit will be the cash account. That is being cash withdrawn from bank. So you need to first give the ledger accounts. So stating HDFC Bank. So HDFC Bank falls under the bank account. Then the cash current debit. Okay. Narration is important. Withdraw cash from bank is accept yes or no information you need to give. This is very important. Transfer of cash of rupees 20,000 from HDFC Bank to ICICI Bank. See here there is a bank-to-bank transaction. Okay, so both appears in the group bank accounts only. So as there is two both bank transaction, so both appears in the bank transaction only. So who is the receiver here? Transfer of cash of rupees 20,000 from HDFC Bank to ICICI Bank. So to ICICI Bank, so HDFC Bank account data to ICICI Bank. So the transaction moves on like this. ICICI Bank will be the credit, debit will be the HDFC Bank. You need to give the information. This credit will be the ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank. If you click on accept yes or no, you will be giving with the information. Okay. So this is a bit of information that I'm giving now. So we will also discuss with a full-fledged problem and how to go on with the tally. So as it is impossible to deal completely with the online classes, so this is how we have created a platform to learn. Okay. So deposited of cash of rupees 15,000, Canara Bank and SBI Bank. So deposited of cash of rupees 15,000. Canara Bank and SBI Bank. Okay. So here make it as the transaction as Canara Bank and ICICI Bank. Okay. ICICI. And also make it as instead of SBI, ICICI Bank. Okay. So here okay. So the cash has been deposited in both the banks. So who will be the receiver here? Canara Bank as well as the ICICI Bank will be the receiver. So what is going out from you? The cash is moving out from you. So what will be the transaction? The transaction will be cash, Canara Bank, ICICI Bank. Okay. So the cash is deposited. And this is how the transaction has to be given. Cash, Canara Bank, and In the ledger creation, you will be creating the Canara Bank as well as SBI Bank, then the cash account. Okay. Once you have already prepared with the cash, no need to prepare again. So once it is enough. Okay. This is about the fifth solution, fifth problem. Withdraw of cash of rupees 20,000 equally from HDFC and Canara Bank. So ledger to be prepared is HDFC in the name of bank account, Canara Bank in the bank account. Okay. So credit, HDFC, Canara Bank, cash account. So being cash, withdraw. So what is the transaction? Withdraw of cash of rupees 20,000 equally from HDFC and Canara Bank. So who will be the giver here? HDFC and the Canara Bank will be the giver. So giver, credit the giver, HDFC and Canara Bank is the giver. So what is coming into you? The cash is coming into you. So the cash will be the debit. So I hope you will be practicing all the five problem or the five illustrations that we have discussed. So before moving on to voucher entry, make sure that you are preparing a ledger transaction. Okay. Then going on with the transactions. The voucher entry transactions. Okay. So I hope so you will be practicing with the transactions. Then in the next class, we will move on with the payment voucher. We will also practice another 5 or 6 questions based on the payment vouchers and further receipt voucher. Then after pledge, we will learn all together, and also we will learn with the help of the Tally software. Okay. Thank you.